Hello, welcome to the CTCL Virtual Days College Fair. Thank you for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Your cameras and microphones are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. You can just sit back, relax, and listen to this great information being presented over the next 45 minutes or so. This is just one of many different sessions happening. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you signed up for this one. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available within about a week, again, at the same website where you registered for this session. It's all the housekeeping stuff I have, so I will get out of the way and turn it over to our representative from Lawrence University.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for joining us today. My name is Brendan Nabosny. I'm one of our assistant directors of admissions at Lawrence University. And I have the honor of working with students from Minnesota, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And I am joined by one of my current students, actually. Ryan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yep, I'm Ryan. I am a sophomore right now at Lawrence. I'm majoring in neuroscience and trombone performance in the double degree program that we have. I'm currently in Detroit, in the Detroit area, where I'm doing remote learning. So definitely feel free to ask any questions about that. And as far as things that I'm involved in on campus, outside of working with admissions and working with Brendan, I work with Music for All, which is a community music organization through the conservatory. I work as a tutor with the Center for Academic Success, so you can ask me a little about that. And then I'm involved in Greek Life, Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia fraternity, which is our music fraternity, but I can answer questions about that as well.
Fun fact, I was also in Phi Mu Alpha, not at Lawrence though, different chapter. But that's my fun fact of the day. The presentation you're about to hear today is just a brief overview of everything that Lawrence has to offer. So we'll talk about life at Lawrence, academics, life after Lawrence, as well as anything you can do on or off campus, the city of Appleton, Wisconsin, and then the admissions and financial aid process. As mentioned at the top of the session, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop it in the Q&A session, the Q&A button throughout the presentation, and we'll get to it at the end of the presentation today. So I will share my screen and we will get started. Perfect. Let's get started. So what is Lawrence University? So Lawrence is an undergraduate only university located in Appleton, Wisconsin. And we are made up of 2 degree giving bodies. And that's why we can call ourselves a university. So we have the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, as well as the Conservatory of Music. A student who's in the College of Arts and Sciences is pursuing their Bachelor of Arts, while a student in the Conservatory of Music is pursuing a Bachelor of Music or our brand new Bachelor of Musical Arts degree. We also offer a 5-year double degree program where a student can pursue a Bachelor of Music in the Conservatory as well as a Bachelor of Arts in the College of Arts and Sciences. About 75% of our students are pursuing a degree through the college, while the other 25% of our students are pursuing a degree through the conservatory. But the Conservatory of Music is an open conservatory. So what that means is if a student has a music interest, but doesn't want to commit to being a music major, they can still be involved in music in a variety of different ways. So they can pick up a minor, they can join ensembles, they can take classes, do lessons, anything like that. So about 50% of our total campus population is involved in music in some way. So we're a very music heavy institution, a very music heavy community as well. The city of Appleton has a strong music, theater, and arts presence. But I always say that means there's 50% of our population that is serving as audience members as well, because we always need audiences too. So that's the wonderful thing about Lawrence. Lawrence is made up of 1,500 students, like I said, undergraduate only, that are taught by just over 170 professors. That breaks down about to an 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio, with your average class size being about 13 to 15 students. Since we are undergraduate only, all professors do teach their own classes. There are no TAs on campus that are teaching classes. So you're going to really develop such strong relationships with your faculty members, kind of create a sort of mentor-mentee relationship with them. I'll actually pass it to Ryan really quick. I'm sure he has an example of not only a small class size experience, but faculty members that he's created relationships with.
Oh, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, for me, a chief example is my trombone professor, Tim Albright. We are, all of us in the trombone studio, it's definitely like mentor figure 100% with him. And that was from day one. I remember when I auditioned, even, after that, he reached out to me via email and was like, hey, I was, so excited to hear you audition and really looking forward to keeping in touch and things like that. So that type of personal touch from professors is super, super common at Lawrence. And maybe not exactly what you were asking about is in terms of small class sizes, but I'll say I'm taking what we would consider a large lecture course right now, which is at really less than 50 students.
Mm-hmm.
It's taught entirely by the professor. We have 3 student TAs who assist, who are basically just purely tutors. And so that might be a good way to kind of, think about how our largest courses at Lawrence are going to be like at most 50-ish people, which is, I think, really cool. The vast majority of courses I've taken so far are like 15 or so, like you said.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, because I went to a school where my largest class was about 300 students. So the fact that your largest class here at Lawrence would be like 50 students, it's a way that for our faculty to still get to know our students very well and very individually. So you're not just a number, you are a person. And our faculty are also really accessible. They always have open office hours that you can meet with them in case you just need to have a question answered or just want to sit down and chat about the class. But if you can't go to those open office hours, faculty are so good at meeting with students on their own time, being like, hey, let's go to the cafe and grab a coffee, or the Viking Room, for example, which is a unique place on our campus for sure. So before we talk about the experience that is freshman studies, a little bit about Lawrence is that we are on a 3-term schedule instead of a 2-semester schedule. So majority of the schools that you will see during these CTCL presentations are on 2 14-week semesters. We are on 3 10-week terms, as well as Knox College and Kalamazoo College. So there's a few of us in CTCL that do the term schedule, but it is definitely something that's unique to us. So what that means is we start right after Labor Day in September and go for 10 weeks until Thanksgiving. Then you get a 6-week winter break from Thanksgiving to New Year's, where a lot of students in a normal year will usually go home for that 6 weeks. We offer what's called D term, which is a 4-week class period where students have the option to take 1 class during that time. Some students will stay on campus to do work, research, anything like that. Majority of students will go home during that 6 weeks though. Second term happens from right after New Year's to the middle of March. Then you get a 1.5-week long spring break. And then the end of March to the first week in June is third term. The benefits of the term schedule is you're only taking 3 classes per term. If you're in the conservatory, you're taking about 5 classes because your ensemble and your lessons do count as a class as well. But majority of the time, you're only taking 3 classes per term. This really helps kind of balance your schedule between your academics, ensembles that you may be in, if you're an athlete, your sport that you're involved with, any different organizations, clubs, time for yourself, anything like that. I will say when students hear that they're only taking 3 classes per term, they're like, great, I have so much free time to take advantage of absolutely everything. And then they kind of overwhelm themselves that first term, I will say. So that by second term, they're like, okay, this is what I can actually get involved with. This is what I actually want to be a part of. And this is how I can actually balance my schedule. So it will be in a bit of adjustment period that first term, but you will adjust really well. And it will be very beneficial the rest of your time at Lawrence. One of the classes you're guaranteed to take your first term on campus is freshman studies. This is a class we've been offering since the 1960s. All students, regardless of major, regardless of degree, have to take freshman studies during that fall and winter term of your freshman year. And basically, it's a class that introduces you to what the liberal arts education is. So how to read critically, write critically, think critically, speak critically, make connections outside of your major as well. So you'll be in a class with 13 to 15 students, most likely not from your major, being taught by a professor, most likely not from your major as well, and learning about music, art, history, the sciences, and how to just approach all of this from the liberal arts mindset and how to connect it back to your actual major as well. Now, like I said, I was not a Lawrence student, so I never got to experience freshman studies, but Ryan is. So tell us a bit about your freshman studies experience, Ryan.
Sure, definitely. I completely agree with the importance of freshman studies as a principle of liberal arts education. I think for me, I always think about it as having kind of a twofold purpose, where the one piece of it is kind of bringing everyone to the same page as far as writing academically and thinking academically goes. And the second facet is expanding people's kind of mental palette of what they're digesting, what kind of content they're looking at. I think for me, it was incredibly important for reminding me to keep my eyes and ears and everything open, my mind open to work outside of my academic discipline. So going into Lawrence, I knew I wanted to be doing music and I knew I wanted to be studying neuroscience. But I was reminded of how much I liked literature through freshman studies and how interested I was in nonfiction writing in fields like economics and stuff like that. And of course, it tied me to things like visual arts, which I had always loved, but I had never really, pursued in kind of college and things like that. So it really kept my mind open to thinking about different disciplines outside of what I was studying as my major. And I definitely think that it was a great way to ease into the college experience and the liberal arts experience. Like you said, both of my professors were from different disciplines and not from my major. So I had a psychology professor and a linguistics professor. And it was really also very interesting to kind of get a different approach from them as to how they would teach a writing course. So the psychology professor was very analytical. The linguistics professor, who also taught some German courses, was a little more, she would tie things to German and tie things to linguistics and language a lot. So it was a very interesting experience. And I think it's a great tool for putting everyone kind of in this mindset of expanding their mental palette and then being on the same page, academically speaking.
Do you have a favorite subject or moment in freshman studies that just has really stuck out with you?
Interesting. I really liked studying both of our non-literary works, I think. So typically we'll study predominantly texts, so a variety of nonfiction and fiction texts, but usually throughout the two-term freshman studies sequence, we'll have a musical work of some variety and then some sort of visual arts work. So last year, we studied a painting as our visual arts work, a Bruegel painting, and then we studied Miles Davis's Kind of Blue, the jazz album. And for me, being a trombone player and playing some jazz, like that was obviously really cool to bring kind of my discipline into the class when it came to studying the Miles Davis album. But the painting was very interesting too, because I had never written so extensively about a painting before and had to analyze it like a novel or something like that. And I think it was very cool to just talk that out with my peers and to work on it in class. And I think we stared at the painting and noted observations for a full class period one time. So that was, I think, a very cool experience as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Moving on then. Next, after your freshman studies, you're going to take everything you learned from freshman studies, apply it to your actual degree, the things you want to learn about, you're pursuing to learn about, and we apply it to what we call the messy middle. That's your sophomore and junior year. In addition to all the classes that you need to take in order to graduate, you'll have different opportunities to perform research, study abroad, take advantage of different internships, both within the Appleton and wider Fox Valley community, but across the United States as well. With study abroad, about 55% of our students will study abroad at some point during their Lawrence education. So we offer two main study abroad programs. The first is in London, England, and the second is in Senegal in West Africa. The way those two study abroad programs work is that students will go over with Lawrence students, any Lawrence faculty member. They will all live together, all their classes will happen together, they will go on their excursions together. So students really like those two options because they know who they're going over with. They're still part of the Lawrence community and that Lawrence bubble. Then we have over 50 other study abroad programs based on whatever a student might be interested in, either learning, a country they may want to go to, they want to do a full immersion program, they are in a language program, something like that. So over 50 other programs a student can choose from. What's also kind of cool is that with certain study abroad programs, we can offer different research opportunities, internship opportunities, or musical opportunities as well. So for example, the Vienna program is really great for our string instrumentalists, just because Vienna just in general is great for music, but for our string students, there's some great options that they can take advantage while there. The London program, all our instrumentalists can take lessons while they're still in London. We can also substitute one of your classes, one of the 3 classes, for an internship or a research opportunity. Costa Rica has really been big for biology and environmental studies students because there's some great research opportunities that come with the Costa Rica program as well. So there's really a lot of options to kind of shape your study abroad program to what you're looking for, and then really build up your resume as well. In addition to study abroad, like I said, we have different research opportunities and internship opportunities. With the help of career services, you will kind of start thinking about your journey at Lawrence and that journey post graduation as well. So your 4 years here at Lawrence and then that post graduation life. So with the help of your career counselor, they'll start pulling different internship opportunities for you so that junior year, like, hey, I'm thinking I want to do an internship. They're like, great, here are the things that we think you should apply for, some really great opportunities to help build your resume. And then that's how students kind of start that internship journey. We also have what's called our LUR1 program. That is a program through career services where we match a current Lawrence student with a Lawrence alum. And for the 10 weeks out of the summer, the Lawrence student will live and work with that Lawrence alum in their research facility wherever they are across the country. Lawrence will pay for their housing and for their transportation. And it's, again, a great way to build up your resume, make connections with the wider Lawrence community as well. Since we are undergraduate only, a lot of these opportunities go to our students directly because they're not competing with grad students or PhD students for these different experiences. We also take about 100 students every summer to stay on campus and do on-campus research. This summer was a little different for obvious reasons, but in normal circumstances, we usually have quite a few students who stay on campus over the summer and do student to faculty research. It's also paid research as well. So again, really great resume builders. Ryan, do you have any examples that you may have? I know last year was your first year on campus and it was an odd year because almost halfway through, we had to send everybody home. But what opportunities have you had in terms of research or just outside of academic experiences?
Sure. Oh, wow. There's a bunch. I mean, I can talk a lot about both my own experiences and a lot of other people's experiences. I mean, I know, and perhaps this touches on other aspects of, I think, the Lawrence experience in general, but I just know a ton of people who have taken advantage of all of the things you've just mentioned. So I know people who I met second term last year who came back from studying abroad. I know people who had studied abroad in the spring term before, and I know a bunch of people who have done research and they, starting in like my year right now, my sophomore year, or their junior year. So it's super, super common. I mean, a bunch of my friends and I have like internships or higher kind of on-campus jobs. I know as far as touching upon kind of career services and things like that, even if like you're not as directly involved in imminently getting an internship or something like that, like I'm not currently in the works of getting an internship right now or anything, like I'm still on all of these specific email lists that they have where they're just constantly sending you internship opportunities and things like that, or various other part-time opportunities in kind of the fields that you're interested in. So they're super communicative that way. And yeah, I mean, I think in general, all of those things, research and internships, whether on campus or off campus, are super, super accessible. I think it's relatively rare to meet somebody who hasn't dabbled in a little bit of it in some way, shape, or form, which I think is really, really great, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious, since you are distance learning from home right now, are you only in music classes, or are you taking some neuroscience as well this year?
Yeah, so currently I'm in music theory and lessons, and then I'm taking a biology class, which is that large lecture course. So the way that the double degree program typically works for people, obviously this is maybe interesting to those who are interested in double degree or things like that. The first year is predominantly music courses. So then the second year is when you're going to integrate the other discipline into your schedule a little more. So now I'm starting the like bio sequences that I need to take to get to the neuroscience courses later in the year and things like that. What's interesting, actually, this really ties directly to the research thing even. What's awesome is that in my biology course, it's a lab course, which has been wild online. We do a lot of like online data analysis and image analysis and things like that. But the first half of our term was like general kind of biology lab stuff. But the second half of our term, starting this week even, we're doing these small group projects with faculty from various departments across kind of like smaller departments within the biology department. So we had a variety of things to choose from. So I'll be doing like real research with a neuroscience faculty member on like a neuroscience topic, which is super cool because this is my first science course at Lawrence and I'm already doing like interesting research. That may not be the chief research of the faculty member because we are in an introductory course, but I still think it's very cool that opportunity is present. So yeah.
And even with distance learning, you're getting those hands-on experiences too, which is good. Yeah, no, I think Lawrence is handling all of this incredibly well right now. Moving on, then when you have time for yourself outside of academics, there's a variety of other things that you can be doing, whether it's music. We've talked a lot of music. Theater, our theater program is an open theater program as well. We are Division III when it comes to varsity athletics. So we offer 22 varsity sports. So about 25% of our students on campus are varsity athletes. We also offer club and intramural as well, so very easy to stay active. Over 100 different organizations you can be a part of, Greek life as well, like we mentioned earlier. And then the city of Appleton, there's always things going on in the city of Appleton, whether it is our farmers market that happens every Saturday, Oktoberfest, which happens every September. The Performing Arts Center is like 3 to 4 blocks away from campus where all the touring Broadway shows come. So we were actually the first city in Wisconsin to get Hamilton the musical before Milwaukee and Madison. That's always a little fun fact I like to throw out because a lot is happening in Appleton, and it's $25 student rush tickets for our Lawrence students. So you just have to show your student ID an hour before curtain. You get best seat in the house for $25. So again, really accessible for our students as well. There's a lot of great restaurants, shops, coffee shops, walking paths, biking paths, all right off campus. So also very accessible as well. The city of Appleton is about 75,000 people, so it is a small metro area. We have our own international airport as well, 10 minutes away from campus with direct flights to Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, and Denver every day. So again, very easy to get to us as well. But I want to turn it over to the student experience. When you are not doing academics, what else are you involved with?
Not doing academics. Well, there's a variety of things. I think that there's obviously campus life directly. So speaking to, and I guess it's co-curricular, but Music for All, which is an organization where we play for community groups. So we play for like Riverview Gardens, which I actually think they have an online concert partnership with them coming up. Where they're like a career development, job training type of center. We've played for homeless shelters. We've played for local prisons. It's been all sorts of places. And so that's kind of a really cool way to tie what I do curricularly to something that's like meaningful for the community. I do neuroscience club, which was partially because I wasn't taking a lot of neuroscience courses yet, but also just because I had friends who were like, come do it. And that's really fun. So that's, again, co-curricular, but we're like just looking at kind of interesting neuroscience topics and articles. And we have like guest speakers from across the region and the country and stuff like that who will come in sometimes. Obviously right now, very different because it's all online. But that's one fun thing. And then there's obviously Greek life, like I said, which is also very different. But so that's a lot of fun. I think that Lawrence has I would consider it to be a rather healthy Greek life culture in particular, and I can touch more upon that if anyone's interested. And in general, going on to kind of talking about Appleton, I know that in a typical scenario, like my friends and I would go out to eat every once in a while, like maybe even every weekend sometimes. We just go out to eat, try a different restaurant. The farmer's market was always like a fun time if we had time on like a Saturday. I know a bunch of people. I never got down to the Performing Arts Center to see like a show. I really wanted to, but it was kind of some of the shows I was looking to see were like later in the year, which was unfortunate. But
Canceled.
it was unfortunate, but yeah, I think there's a lot of just kind of fun things that you can do on campus and off, and there's a lot of opportunities to kind of have meaningful experiences and also just fun social experiences too, for sure.
And I will say that you're never bored because there's things always going on, or there's things you're always involved with, especially since I should mention that we are also a residential community. So our students have to live on campus all 4 years. There's a lot of different living situations that our students can choose from. your first year is going to be that stereotypical 2-person per room type situation that everybody goes through. And then starting sophomore year is when you can branch out into a lot of different options, whether it's a double, a triple, a quad, the lofts, the suites, the apartments, or themed houses. The themed houses, some of them are Greek life houses, but then some go to our organizations as well. So some things that I can see from my office whenever I look out my window are gaming house, where all the students interested in board games, video games, anything like that, they all live in a house together. Dance house, students that are dancers interested in dancing, they live in a house. My personal favorite is Slug House, which stands for Sustainable Lawrence University Gardens. So all the gardeners live in a house together. So there's a lot of unique experiences when it comes to living in a residential community, but you're constantly staying busy as well, and trying to find time for yourself, which I think is also good. Another very unique thing to Lawrence is probably one of my favorite places, Bjorklanden. This is our lodge on Lake Michigan, about 90 minutes north of campus in Door County. And during the academic year, it is only for students. So classes will go up to do research, ensembles will go up to do ensemble work, retreat work, anything like that. Organizations will go up to do retreats. The Office of Religious and Spiritual Life will do a weekend where basically you're cut off from the outside world. You first come, first serve. And before you get on the bus, you hand in all of your technology. So your laptop, your cell phone, anything like that. It's just you, the lodge, the lake, the forest, and just like really reconnecting with yourself, which I think is a really cool weekend. Right before finals, we do a first come, first serve bus trip to Bjorklanden. So you can go up and hang out and kind of decompress before the stress of finals. And it is absolutely free for our students. The only requirement is you have to do your opportunity or your chore, which is make your bed, do your dishes, all those things you should be doing already. And then during the summer, it's for faculty and staff. We do our admissions retreat there every May, so I've gotten to go quite a few times. And then we do lecture series over the summers where people from the community can come and hear guest speakers. We do different retreats. It's just a really great place and a really great opportunity for our students. And everybody gets to go at least at some point. Ryan, I know last year was your first year and you had to go home in March, but did you get to go to Bjorklanden before that?
I did not.
Oh no.
And this is the second like panel type situation where I've had to drop that bomb on someone. I did not get to go, and I was very unfortunate. There was a plan actually to go with my sight singing class, which is part of our music theory sequence. We were gonna go and just like sing fun tunes like the whole weekend, but that didn't materialize because that was going to be spring term. So I have not gotten to go yet, and I'm really bummed about it. But very excited.
It will happen. It will happen. Things will get back to normal soon, hopefully, maybe. And then first thing you're going to do is get to go to Bjorklanden.
I will say I somewhat did have an opportunity to go that I had an unavoidable conflict with. The trombone studio did go up fall term, and I did have like a personal like conflict that just couldn't be avoided. So I had an opportunity to go. I will make that clear that there is an abundance of opportunities to go. I just had a personal situation where I couldn't go.
Where it couldn't happen yet. No, I completely understand. So fingers crossed before graduation, you get to go for sure. Moving on. And then you're on to senior year. Finally, senior year, and you're going to start working on your senior experience, which is your senior capstone project. So all students, regardless of major, have to complete what's called their senior experience. This can be a project, a presentation, a lecture, a fundraiser, a paper. If you're in the conservatory, it's usually your recital. An expanded recital of some kind, that will be your senior experience. You will receive an additional academic advisor to kind of help you plan and execute your senior experience beginning your junior year. And if you're doing a double major, you can combine your two senior experiences together. Most double degree students have to do two senior experiences, one for their college degree and one for their conservatory degree. So there's a lot of different opportunities that can come with this senior experience. The Slug Garden, which I mentioned earlier, the Sustainable Lawrence University Gardens, that was a senior experience actually. So you could leave a legacy as well. Your senior experience, you'll present it in front of the faculty, staff, students, as well as your family. If they decide to come and view your senior experience, it gets published in the commencement booklet at graduation. It's a really great resume builder that future employers as well as grad schools like to see on our students' resumes and applications. And if you're looking for any sort of example specific to a major of interest that you're interested in, excuse me, we go to the Lawrence website and scroll all the way down to the bottom of that academic department page. So like biology, for example, you can see examples of past senior experiences. Ryan, I know you're only a sophomore, but have you started thinking about it yet?
Of course, I think that everybody starts thinking about it pretty early. I mean, for me, obviously, there's going to be some form of recital component to that, I would think, because I will have to do a required degree recital for my senior year. Um, but I have a lot of things in mind. I mean, I've always been interested in like music being processed in the brain and things like that. So we could do some research in that area. Maybe that's kind of the rough idea. It's a little far out, like you said, but I do think that I will be looking to, at least on the neuroscience end, integrate some of my music into it where I can, and yeah.
I mean, and that's the cool thing about the senior experience is that you're basically showcasing what have you mastered over the course of 4 or 5 years and tying it back to your actual interests as well. So being a neuroscience major, but still tying it back to music. So it's very flexible, which is really awesome. And then after all of that, you spend 4 or 5 years at Lawrence and then you graduate. So people always ask 6 months after graduation, where do your students end up? So 6 months after graduation, 73% of our students are employed. 22% of our students go on to graduate school, professional school of some kind. 4% go on to a fellowship, military, volunteer work, and then there's 1% still seeking employment. Like I mentioned earlier, career services is going to be a really great benefit for our students, not only during their time at Lawrence, but then post-graduation as well. Career services will always be a service for our students, even when they're alum. So say 10 years after graduation, you're looking for a career change, just some career advice of some kind, you can come back and use Lawrence's career services for free. So that service will always be there for our students. Now you've learned everything there is to know about Lawrence. So we have to do some quick housekeeping, which is how to apply to Lawrence. So we talked about there's the college and the conservatory. So first, if you're looking to just apply to the College of Arts and Sciences, we accept either the common application or our own personal Lawrence application. Majority of the applications we'll receive is through the Common App. I encourage my students to apply through the Common App because then you're filling out all your information once and then sending it off to all of your schools. Once we get your application, we will then receive your high school transcript, so your grades. We'll get what's called a school report. This will come from your high school counselor, and it's basically letting us know what does your school offer in terms of classes, what are you taking in comparison to other students. Since high schools are all so different in what they offer, this just lets us know a little bit more about your high school. We ask for at least one letter of recommendation from a core teacher, so math, science, history, English, or the foreign languages. You can send in as many letters of recommendation as you'd like, though. We do read them all. We are a test optional institution. So what that means is that we have been test optional for just over 10 years now. So if you don't want to send in your ACT or SAT scores, you don't have to. About 25% of our applicants will not send in their ACT or SAT scores. Reason being is they may be great academically, just not the greatest test takers. So we like to give our students that option. This year, I do expect that our test optional, that the amount of students who don't send in test scores will be a little bit higher because obviously the SAT and ACT keeps getting canceled over and over again, and that's okay. We're very used to students not sending in test scores. And then finally is the highly recommended optional, but I always encourage it, interview with an admissions counselor. The interview is a chance for you to talk about yourselves for 20 minutes with myself or one of my colleagues, and just let us know a bit more about you and talk about things that may not appear on your application as well. I always encourage it because it helps supplement your application, especially right now with schools doing distance learning very differently. Some schools are back in session, some schools are distance learning, some are doing a hybrid situation. It gives students the chance to talk about what their experience with distance learning has been like, how that transition's been like for them as well, and it just helps supplement your application. So I highly, highly encourage it. If you're interested in interviewing with one of the admissions counselors, if you go to lawrence.edu and then to our visit page, you'll see all of the available times through the end of December when admissions counselors are available to do an interview, a Zoom, a phone, a Skype interview, anything like that. Feel free to sign up there. And then if you are applying to the conservatory or our double degree program, we need everything listed on the college side, as well as your audition for the conservatory, which is very important, probably the most important thing. This year, all of our auditions are online. So we are doing all video auditions, no in-person auditions this year, unfortunately. We asked for a music teacher recommendation in addition to your core teacher recommendation, as well as a music resume. So just listing off everything that you've done musically throughout your time as a musician, just letting us know a bit about who you are as a musician. Since I do have time, I do want to ask Ryan really quick, what was your audition process like for Lawrence?
Oh wow. My audition process was great, actually. It was very stressful in the sense that I put a bunch of stress on myself with some scheduling things, and it was my first audition, which I did not intend for that to be the case, but it became my first audition because I scheduled some things around it, and I was super nervous about it, and I didn't know, like, I didn't come in knowing any like students or anything like that. I had had contact with counselors, and I had contact, I think, with Professor Albright at the time, but it was relatively minimal. So I was a little nervous just because I like didn't know anyone, and and I was, like, it was my first audition, so I had traveled this way, and I was like all stressed out and everything. But it was honestly really great, and I vividly remember that not only was, like I mentioned, Professor Albright was super welcoming and like very calming and very enthusiastic, but um, I definitely recall meeting like numerous students, especially trombone students, who like asked me about myself and like really calmed my nerves and things like that. Made it really like seem a lot less intimidating to go into that audition room and everything. So that was really great. I think that, yeah, there tend to be like a lot of enthusiastic students just kind of around on audition day, in addition to people who are like working audition day and everything like that. And as far as the actual audition process went, I mean, it can vary from studio to studio and department to department, but I know I just auditioned for Professor Albright in his office. And that was very, not a super intimidating environment. I think that's pretty common for a lot of instrumental auditions. It's harder to say for vocal auditions and things like that, or piano auditions, but I know for a lot of like winds and strings and stuff like that, I think it's universally a pretty calm audition experience and everything like that. And the professors are just generally interested in you. They're generally interested to hear about um, like who you are and what your musical goals are and what your goals outside of music are. And we spent time talking about that in the audition room, and that was really cool too. So yeah, very, very nothing to be too scared of, I would say. I worked myself up about it, and it ended up being, I think, far and away probably my best audition process of the auditions I took. So.
I agree with that. No, I love working audition days because, yeah, you get all these students who have hyped themselves up thinking it's going to be the most, like, the scariest experience. And I was a musical theater major, so I can speak from experience. I was the exact same way, but it's a very relaxed experience. And the professors are so welcoming and just want to get to know you in that audition experience. So remember that as you go through that. And then finally, financial aid, scholarship, things people always want to know. So your application for admission automatically doubles as your application for merit scholarship. We will automatically consider you for that merit scholarship. And that merit scholarship can range between $20,000 and $31,000 per year. It's good for all 4 years. If you're doing the double degree program, it rolls into that 5th year automatically as well. Merit scholarship is determined from a variety of different things. So academics, test scores, if you choose to submit them, level of rigor, your personal essay, the writing quality, the letters of recommendation, things you're doing outside of academics. So it's a full holistic review when determining that merit scholarship. In addition to the merit scholarship, we do offer need-based financial aid as well. So that is determined through the FAFSA as well as the CSS profile, which is offered through College Board. And you will work with your financial aid counselor on getting all these documents submitted, as well as kind of going through your financial aid package. So any grants or loans we could provide you on top of the merit scholarship we are offering. All of the admissions counselors are also very well versed in all things financial aid, so we can help you with that financial aid process as well. And then most importantly, due dates. So our first deadline is coming up very soon. I can't believe November 1st is like 2 weeks away. But our first deadline is November 1st. That is both an early decision and an early action deadline. So early decision is that binding deadline when you apply to a school or early decision. Basically, you're saying, this is where I want to go. And if I'm admitted to the school, then I'm only going to this school. Early action still provides you flexibility. So if you're applying early action, you'll apply by November 1st. We'll let you know if you've been admitted plus your merit scholarship by December 15th. You'll get your full need-based financial aid package in the middle of January, and then you have till May 1st to make your decision of where you want to go. Early action 2 and regular decision follow the exact same timeline. Everything is just pushed a little bit. If you're applying to the conservatory, only early decision, early action 1, and regular decision apply to you because that's when audition dates are. There is no audition deadlines for early action 2. So if you're applying to the conservatory, early decision, early action 1, and regular decision are the best options. Trying to think what else. That is the end of my presentation. We have about 5 minutes for questions. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick. Feel free to drop it in the chat. We can answer them for you. One we got right away is, how are transfer students integrated? Also, if you are interested in theater but not majoring, can you be involved? I'll start with theater really quick. Yes, you can be involved. About 50% of the theater department is made up of non-majors, whether that's on stage, backstage, in the costume shop, scene shop, anything like that. Very easy to get involved with the theater department. Transfer students, you will work specifically with your own transfer admissions counselor, Jaime Gonzalez. And we do a full integration with the Lawrence community during Welcome Week, that first week on campus, but then also integrating you not only with the incoming class, but with those other transfer students as well. So you're coming in with a community, somebody who has been on the same kind of path as you. We also have transfer specific faculty as well as staff who works with our transfer students while they're on campus that you kind of will create sort of a mentor relationship with as well. Well, you'll meet with them once a week, once a month, kind of talk about how your process has been going, transitioning into Lawrence from a different institution. So you'll always have somebody, a faculty or staff member that you can always connect with no matter what when it comes to being a transfer student on campus. If you have any additional questions about being a transfer student, feel free to reach out to Jaime Gonzalez directly, and he'll be able to help you. Any other questions? I know we're running short on time, but feel free to drop something in the chat, either for me or Ryan, about the student experience as well. Let's see. We'll give it a couple minutes. I'll pass it to Ryan really quick. Do you have any parting, since we have 3 minutes left, do you have any parting words of wisdom about what it's like to be a Lawrence student, or what the Lawrence experience is like, or something that you just wish everybody knows about Lawrence?
Oh, wow. I think parting words. I think that it's important that everyone who's interested in Lawrence should know that it's not an environment that's all work, and it's not an environment that's all play. It's definitely both. I know that I've had so many experiences that are just plain fun and social and exciting or what have you. And I know that I've definitely worked hard. And I think that's true of every single Lawrence student. We all know how to have fun and we all know how to work hard. So it's definitely not an environment that places more weight upon social development and growth than academic growth, and vice versa. They definitely, I think, work in tandem. And yeah, that's kind of, I think, to me, that's the main defining quality of my college experience so far, I think, for sure, at Lawrence. And I think that's definitely how a lot of people would feel, a lot of students would feel.
Perfect. Thank you. We did get one final question that I'm going to answer really quick because it is about the application interview process, and I want to make sure everybody hears this. The question is, to set up an admission counselor interview, does it have to be with the person in charge of your region, or can it be any of the admissions counselors? It can be any of the admissions counselors. So if you go to lawrence.edu and look at all of our times, if another admissions counselor time options better fit with your schedule, feel free to schedule it with them, because we do receive all of the notes. I will say, try to go with your admissions counselor first, because they are the one who is working with you for the next year. They're also the one reading your application before they pass it off to additional counselors to read the application, but they're that first reader on the application as well. So they're the person who wants to get to know you the best. So yeah, and with that, we have a minute left. So I'm going to wrap us up really quick and say, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Ryan, for joining me as well. If anybody has any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. If you have questions for Ryan, you can reach out to me. I'll pass it to him, things like that. But thank you for joining us today.
Brendan and Ryan, thank you for presenting today. And I want to thank everyone, as was just said, I'm going to reiterate, thanking everyone for attending this session. When you close this window, there'll be a link to a very quick 4-question survey. We'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. And this is just one of many sessions being hosted. Be sure to sign up for additional ones where you registered for this one. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings, again, where you signed up for this session. Again, thank you to Brendan and Ryan from Lawrence University for presenting today. Have a great rest of your Sunday.